everyone, this is Butterfly Milkshakes, and welcome to How To Art. This will be the third episode of the How To Art series, and this episode will be covering my time in high school. In previous episodes, I talked about my time before I left out of the country to Japan, as well as what some of my artwork and I guess my experience with art overall was like during elementary school and middle school and pretty much before high school. If you want to listen to those episodes, feel free to look through the How To Art playlist on my channel or just scroll through the videos. So, to give a bit of backstory, I started high school when I moved to the Maryland and DC area. I actually went to school in Maryland while living in DC. I went to a private Christian school, and I think I started when I was about 13, so 13 or 14. I was a little early in starting high school. So high school for me, in terms of art, was, I think, probably the most productive I've ever felt with artwork, which is kind of interesting considering that my next episode will actually be talking about how I felt really stifled in terms of art with college. So high school was for me the development of dreams and realizing what artistic goals I wanted. So yeah, that's what I'll be getting into. So before I went to high school in Maryland, I was homeschooled for a good portion of my time. I think I started being homeschooled when I was about 9. It was either 9 or 10 years old. And then I entered high school at around 13, 14 years old. Before I went into high school, there was a lot of traveling, so I traveled to different states and different cities before actually going to the DC and Maryland area. And some of the benefits while being homeschooled was to basically draw on my own time, as well as, getting a lot of, inspiration outside of the schoolwork I had to do. And being homeschooled, I kind of felt like I had more freedom to do whatever I wanted to do. Like, it's easy and not easy being a homeschool kid, because on one hand, you have flexibility, but at the same time, I feel like it's a little difficult being taught by your parents, so to say. So for me, you could probably imagine how much of a shift it was going from homeschool to being in a private school with other children, and it was actually considerably rough because my classmates were very rowdy. So it was a very frustrating shift for me, and one of the ways that I adjusted and coped was through basically continuing my artwork. So I brought a sketchbook with me basically in every class, and whenever I would finish up with work or there was like some sort of free time, I would basically draw and sketch. I have regular mechanical pencils and color pencils too. And I would also dabble with pens and markers and stuff. I also took art classes. I took art classes from the 9th grade to I think it was 10th grade. That's when I had my last art class, because after that they didn't have art classes anymore. And that's actually when I started jumping more into like dance and theater stuff. So that's kind of how that happened. But outside of that, I would also have like my tablet, and I got a 2-in-1 computer. It's the Windows Surface. I think it was the 7 Pro, which I still have to this day. So I used that to draw as well, because you could download the sketchbook app on it. So that's what I usually use to draw or to basically do art. And it was during this time that I really explored like my different interests a little bit more. Like I think 9th and 10th grade was when the creative spark started, so to say, quote unquote. And the fuel for that spark was fantasy, sci-fi, action, adventure. So basically all the stuff that I've listed before in past episodes, I decided to try and genuinely put them down on pencil and paper. I also loved my literature classes. Those served a lot of inspiration for me in terms of like historical stories or like fiction stories. Those were always fun to do. A couple of my most favorite drawings, I think, throughout high school, if I can think of a couple, because there are so many, but there were some, I guess, character design pieces that I liked a lot, like this elf girl that I've done. I actually had a dream one time of these mystical people, so I drew out a couple characters and their symbols too. I'll put all of these in the video so you can see what I'm talking about. But I also had stories in my head that I had illustrations for, so I'll put a couple of those in here too. Some of those stories started in middle school, but a lot of them, and even a lot of them that I plan to work on in the future, stem from high school. So my sketchbooks mostly consisted of like random doodles and faces and people, monsters, which I also liked a lot, random faces that expressed emotions, and a lot of symbolism. So this was mostly 9th and 10th grade. By 11th and 12th grade, I improved my artwork a lot, not only just due to the classes, but I also experimented a lot. So if anyone kind of wants like a quote-unquote easy way to like work on art or like to improve their artwork, please experiment as much as possible, because not only will it give you room to not feel pressure to do anything, it will also encourage you to basically, you have no inhibitions, and if you do something long enough, then eventually it'll look pretty good. So that's how I started improving 11th and 12th grade. I also mimicked a lot of styles that I saw on TV, in movies, and other forms of illustrated media. So I started finding like my own style, or like things that I liked. That was also a very emotional shift for me. So some of my themes changed quite a bit. I would pull from darker themes, so to say. So I started creating more monsters. There was a lot more sad and angry tones with my artwork, and it mostly stemmed from some issues that was coming from my home life at that time. So I just kind of felt out of place and not so valued, and so drawing monsters and drawing upset people was basically me expressing myself in a way that I felt like I couldn't with words. And I think that's one of the things that encouraged me to make art my career. I wanted to be able to basically express myself in a way that is not commonly done before. And I don't think I have a lot of old art that's still on my Instagram page, or on my Instagram, that has the old themes in it from high school. There are a few, but I trimmed it down to have mostly digital art these days. But I wanted to basically share my new, innovative, crazy ideas with the world, and hope that somewhere out there someone liked what I liked or felt the same way that I did. And when we started college planning in high school, we actually sat down and had a whole class period about it, of where we wrote down our career goals and what we wanted to major and minor in college. And mind you, my mom was teaching this class. She became a teacher at my school. And I said I wanted to major in art and minor in environmental science or biology, which is something else I'm interested in. And if anyone is listening to this in college, yes, it would have been switched. Instead of having a major in biology, I wanted a major in art. So that's what I really wanted, and that is something I decided not to pursue because I wasn't forced into being told. It wasn't like an outright no, but basically my mom, in a way, convinced me not to because she mentioned being, financially secure. Basically being financially secure, and that's something I wanted too because, I wanted to be more independent than I already was. And I felt like having a major in something that was more quote-unquote stable would give me that way out. Which, of course, is not entirely true. I'll get into that later. But it wasn't entirely true, but that's still something that I chose. It didn't really make me happy either. I felt very sad that it was going to be a no, but at the same time, I felt determined to still make art a part of my life, despite that. So I decided to choose safety over my dreams, and to be very honest with you, even choosing biology, that wasn't a really safe route to go anyway. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Someone who really has security in biology will probably be somewhere along the lines of a consultant or a lab technician. And I am choosing not to do either of those. In fact, I am more interested in environmental education, which would probably give me on average $40,000 a year in terms of salary. So, in the end, would I have some form of financial security? Yeah, but that's not to say that art wouldn't have given me the same thing, because there are many different careers in art that would probably pay a lot more than what I'm interested in anyway, such as graphic design or being a concept artist for a illustration company. There are a lot of art jobs out there, and even if you decide to be independent, that doesn't mean that you will never have security in your artwork, financially anyway. So, despite being upset, and despite going through a couple of grueling years, feeling like the no was hanging over my head, or not having that option or choice, giving it up, because that's what it ultimately is. Even though I say I was convinced by my mother to choose that route, which is very much true, at the end of the day, I still could have changed my mind. The good news about it, though, is that I have changed my mind, in a sense. I'm still going to graduate with a major in biology, but my artwork, my art business, will always come first over biology. In fact, I've heard this described by a fellow artist. I forgot his name. I only watched this video, I think near the beginning of the year, or even over the summer. But he was talking about how there are artists with full-time jobs or part-time jobs, and he was basically saying, don't feel bad that you need a job with your artwork. Delegate the time whenever you can, which is something I'm doing while in school with a job. But basically, think of your job, your 9-to-5 or your part-time job apart from art, as a what was the word he used? A sponsor of sorts. I don't think that's the word he used, but basically a sponsor to support your artwork. And I like that analogy because it makes me feel less bad about wanting to have financial security, especially before I even earn consistently with my artwork. I'm actually not earning anything from my artwork currently, but I hope to in the future. And even then, there's still no guarantee that I would, let's say, be able to earn so much that I would never need a full-time job apart from art ever again. Not to mention that as a performing artist, there are other things I want to do apart from drawing and painting and whatever other fine art is out there. I have way more aspirations outside of my art business, but it is still a major part of my life. So that's the good news. And if I could leave you with any words of wisdom, if I haven't already, it's to not necessarily not rush into choices. Well, never rush into choices. But always sit down if you want something. Always make a plan, or even a faux plan, so to say, of how you could get what you want. Because only then are you able to see the pitfalls, the holes, the things that might make you say, okay, I can have this, just not right now. It's never a never. It's just a matter of you probably won't be able to have it on its own. And that's okay. Life is filled with many surprises and responsibilities, and you'll never truly have everything the way that you want, the way you want it. That's just life. But your perception will change everything. Thank you for listening to this third episode of How to Art. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and that wherever you are in your life, whether it be that you're an artist trying to figure stuff out like I am, or even, I don't know, choosing your first job, making important life decisions, wherever you are in life, I hope that you are doing well, and that you know that the fight isn't over, and that there's never nevers, to have patience, to persevere, and to never give up on hope.